right, Lucy, should we go?
Okay. It is 6 o'clock, so I will call the meeting to order. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alicia, will you please do a roll call?
Yes. Lord Largen.
Here.
Ian McDonald.
Here.
Matt Foucault.
Here.
Lacey Oster.
Here.
Bruce Largen.
Here.
Marge Blow.
Here.
Corey Cole.
Here.
Our district mission: together we engage, educate, and empower all learners, bridging their passions to pathways to create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. I have not gotten any public comment. Have you, Shannon, got anything for that? Okay.
Nope.
And I will go back to make sure that we can approve our agenda. Is there a motion to approve our agenda this evening?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so we'll go on, since there is no public comment, to our referendum bid results and subcontractor award recommendations.
Perfect. And we do have some attachments, right?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm here just to give an update. Bid package 3, which was the stadium renovation project, bid out February 28th, so about 3 weeks now. Again, I touched on a real high level last time I was here, but over the last 3 weeks, we had an opportunity to go back and scope out all the bidders. I'm here to make our recommendation to who we should hire for that portion of the project. Along with that, I want to touch on the overall budget, how bid packs 1, 2, and 3, how that's looking at the overall budget. And then real quick, I'm sure everyone's curious on how things are going to come together with the stadium. Quick update on schedule and site logistics for the stadium work that's going to happen here within the next month. So if we could pull up the subcontract.
Very first one?
Yep, very pleased.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yep.
So I'll go through some of these relatively quickly. There's 13 work categories that we developed for the bid pack 3, the stadium project. Starting with the first one, we have a small steel package. This would be for the new scoreboard you're getting. Again, the scoreboard was already solicited. It's in production. It's probably almost close to being done, but a part of that we needed to provide a steel structure. So 4 different bids. The first one we obviously did not award. They only picked up the small amount of handrails that were on the project. First complete bid, Valley Custom Welding, complete with the items that we scoped out. Our recommendations, Valley Custom Welding. Next one, please. Next one is the install of the scoreboard. Again, the material you're already solicited, but this would be installing of the steel and the scoreboard, installing the actual components, doing all the electrical work, connecting it to the press box, making sure it's functioning. We were in conversations with 3 entities that performed that work. We only got 1 bidder, R&K Services. Again, complete scope, they were under our budget, so in this instance, we're recommending R&K Services. The next one, this is a unique one. This is for the new press box and the bleacher modifications that are part of this project. Again, 3 or 4 companies that I'm aware of in the vicinity that do bleacher work. Bleachers are a unique one. There's different systems, and each different company carries a different system. Safe in this instance, their system is currently installed. They'd be most slated to do the work. With that being said, pre-bid we were discussing this project with GT Grandstand and Dan Clayton. They inevitably did not decide to bid. Safe was our own bidder. Scoping out their complete, I felt like it is complete, so I am recommending that we move forward with a contract. There is always the option of rebidding this work category. With that being said, I do personally think we'd have the same instance and would only get another 1 bid, safe to bid out it again. So that's where that one's sitting. Next one, please. Thank you. Next one, electrical. Not a huge electrical scope. This would entail bringing power to the new scoreboard, putting some protection around the existing transformer lighting package, or the lighting power source for the fields, or the lights of the field, and then a little bit of low voltage that would support your new comm boxes at the track. Neo Electrical Solutions gave us a very competitive bid. They scoped out on all our items that we asked. So for that reason, Neo Electrical Solutions recommendation. The big work category, and again, we could scroll all the way over. I'm not going to touch on all of them, but you can see we had 9 total bidders for the earthwork package that made up a large bulk of this package. Looking at the 2 low bidders, Stout Construction and Total Excavating over on the left, again, very competitive bids, 928 even and 928 309 in the same ballpark. Did a very thorough scope review of these guys. Stout focusing on one value engineering option, I'll call it, and that would be to utilize your field on the north side of the project or right behind the field and put all the excess soils there in lieu of trucking off site. Stout gave us a deduct or a savings to the project of $24,300, total excavating $30,000. Again, I'm recommending that is something that we would proceed with. If we take that voluntary alternate into effect, total excavating is technically low on paper. More importantly, just focusing on the scope review items. They all had a complete scope. Looking at past experiences, tracks that they've done in the local area, Stout had Glenwood City and Shettick. Total excavating, a little bit more experience. Hoffman Park in 2020. River Falls High School, that happened relatively recently. Hudson's High School, they did that one in Prescott Schools in 2016. Again, if we do take the value engineering of putting the topsoil on that north field, and with the experience of total excavating, I am recommending total excavating for this work category. Next one, paving. This would be all the sub-layment underneath the track, the base before the track system itself. Monarch Paving is obviously a big player in the area. I'm surprised we even got another bid, Park Construction. With that being said, Monarch came in low at 180. They're complete with all the areas. Recommendation is Monarch. Exterior concrete, again, this is one item, concrete that Markin & Johnson self-performs. Again, in the same fashion for the elementary school, we did solicit it out to other bidders. With this, we emailed bids to Shannon, Bruce, I believe we emailed it to you too, about 2.5 hours before the bid day. Chippewa, Kerr Masters, and Good Mason all submitted their bids in a sealed envelope that we did not open up until 2 p.m. the bid time. That being said, we did come in about 20,000 low, and for this, I'm recommending Markin & Johnson. Big portion of the job, this is the outdoor running track system, the track system itself. Happy to see we did get 3 bidders. Fisher Track Systems, I believe they're out of Iowa. Upper Midwest is local. I believe they're south of the Twin Cities. In Buying and Sports, they're actually out of Maine area, East Coast. With that being said, Fisher had the low number, scoping them out, complete in all aspects. Manpower is a big item. We're always checking on this. I feel that their capability, their manpower has a lot of options come August 1st when they're going to need to be putting it in. So Fisher Track's my recommendation.
How many years is that warranty on that track?
I'll verify. I believe it's a 5-year warranty. Tyler, you might be able to.
So I can double check.
Before we'd have to redo it?
That's just the warranty period. The lifespan would be longer than that. I'll see if I can find it.
Next one, again, and this one is a lot of bidders, the chain link fence portion of it. So I know a new 4-foot fence around the inside of the track for watching football games, soccer games, etc. And then just a little bit of fence work around the whole site. Eau Claire Fence Corporation out of Eau Claire came in slightly low. Again, gave them and Tedusky Corporation an opportunity to scope out. Eau Claire Fence Corporation scoped out complete. We're recommending Eau Claire Fence Corp. Next one, site furnishings. So these are the new field goal posts, the event stations such as high jump items that get set in the concrete, any event stations that are new. Peterson Companies were the low bidder at $61,365. Again, just that they bid it per spec and they did. I feel comfortable with it, so Peterson Companies is who I'm recommending. And then last but not least, landscape. We did have L&K Tree and Shrub give us a bid at $64,000. Again, the big item is no irrigation, which is a big part of the project. First complete bidder, Groundsboro Landscape Group, 167 and change. Complete on all items. A big portion to watch that we were checking on is the temp irrigation throughout the summer project. They're going to make sure that football field is watered throughout the summer so that we're ready to go come the first football game, I believe August 23rd.
So one of these, I can't remember which document, had a 12-week growth cycle or something on it. But this is only down for 8 weeks before we actually play on it.
So I know the original schedule we were looking at, maybe that's what you were referencing.
It was,
The goal is we want to obviously get the sod down as much time as possible before that first game is played on it. The good news is on how it is designed, we're only touching the first 5 feet from the inside of the track into the existing field. So that being said, the existing native grass will be existing. It's had a long grow duration, essentially its whole life. That being said, the 5 feet swath around the whole perimeter, that's new. We should have about a month and a half of grow time on it. The goal is to try to get that in mid-June, if at all possible. It'll be a big push. But even vetting out with Grounds Pro Landscape Group or Green Oasis, they felt a month and a half is efficient. It'll be fine. Obviously, if we had the ability to let it sit for a whole year, that would be the best option. But
so they know it's going to be played. They know we're going to be on it on the 23rd of August.
yes, that was in the bid schedule that was slated.
Okay. All right.
So those were the 11 work categories for discussion. Going to the bid tabulation. At a real high level, just wanted to visualize the bidders through the 12 different work categories. Really good coverage, so I'm happy with that. We just scroll through it quickly.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Okay, touching on this real quick, it'll make more sense when we get to the overall budget sheet. Again, when we put the bid tabulation sheet on bid day, we like to take the DD budget, which was established about a month and a half ago. With that being said, the DD budget to the CD drawings, knowing that we were a little under budget, we were able to incorporate a little bit more scope, some more sod work, a little bit more concrete, just ease of access to the site, etc. So with that being said, overall, just comparing the numbers from DD to the bid day, just the work categories numbers, we were about 200,000 over. Again, that's what we're carrying, estimating and design contingency. So if we zero that out, we were if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, showing about 85,000 over budget, and I got to say that very delicately. From the original referendum dollar amount, we're under by about 250,000. That was just from DD. So if we can go to the overall budget sheet. So starting with the performing arts, and then we'll look at the overall unders and overs for the overall project collectively in a second. For the performing arts, that's the next project, last project we're bidding out here. Bid day will be around April 18th. I know Tyler and his team are finalizing construction drawings as we speak. We're trending slightly over, but I believe right where we should be with the escalation or design, estimating and design contingency right here. So we're holding a good value. Next page, please. Elementary school, so we're calling this a GMP number 1. Essentially, we did our scope review last session. We're moving forward with those contractors. Final cost for that portion of the work, $5,866,600. And you can see how that compares to the original referendum budgets, tracking about 150,000 under. Next one, please. And for the stadium renovations, the one we just looked at, again, the numbers compared from the bid tabulation was DD, so we can see a little bit of over, but I want to focus on the original dollars slated for this portion of the project, $3,657,000. We're right around 200,000 under budget, so right where we want to be. And then looking at the totals, going into bid pack 4, the PAC original, obviously tracking to utilize all the funds. At SD into DD, we were trending slightly over. Worked within those parameters. Right now, currently sitting 62,000 under budget. I think that's a really good place to be as we go into bid pack number 4.
And that's with holding the current,
Escalation design
the
contingency.
current cost update for the Performing Arts Center, right?
Correct.
That's withholding the 13,500,000, not the 13,200,000, which was technically the budget.
Yep, we're carrying the bigger
So
number.
even if we came in at that number, we
We'd
would
be,
still be 60,000 really good.
yes, sir.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Yep, I'm gonna bring up the playground again, sorry. I see that there is a cost update for, March 15th, and that seems incredibly low to me for a playground for an elementary our size.
I think the current status of it, we've had some good conversations over the last 3 weeks. Right now, we're back with the playground designer. I think we've got all the feedback that we've gotten from Pam, from Shannon. We have options that fall within that budget. Again, with the conversations, we'll have to see where it comes in. With that being said, we'll plug that number in once we see where it is and we agree on that scope.
Okay, because I'm on a playground committee for a different, and I'm like, it's 3 times that amount. So I'm just, is it gonna be smaller than our playground now? Is it gonna be, what's the expectation of the size or what that playground would include, I guess?
And Shannon, feel free to jump in, but I think the goal here is to get a system that is equal to what you currently have
Okay,
in place right now, so a 1-for-1 is what we call it.
yep,
And I think the conversation has been based on over the last 15 years, playground technology and different devices on how kids play has changed so much on how you look at it is up for discussion essentially, right? The new design that's coming forth, they're gonna have a spreadsheet essentially comparing how many slides originally, or the current system has, and then what the new proposed system would have. And slides is one example, but running through all the different components. And I think from a visual level, that would be the best way to look and compare
Okay.
and make sure that we're getting something that is a 1-for-1.
yeah. I would just be interested in what that next step. And I just know a lot of the things with playgrounds as far as, is it adaptable to, kids with special needs in our elementary, and a lot of those add-ons that probably wasn't with the playground, that's initially there, and just that safety piece. But just the way, I know that when we were running the referendum, a lot of the feedback from elementary parents and things, that was a really big thing. So I want to make sure that as we're putting that on, it's not going down, but we're providing a good play structure for hundreds of elementary kids that use it on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. And I think the conversations that we've had over the last month have been really constructive. We were definitely at a starting point, but with the good conversations with Pam and Shannon, I think all that input has been incorporated into what they're putting forth now. And I know that ADA accessible components is a big part of that conversation as well, so.
Yeah, I would say this is probably the component of the referendum that we've had the most discussion about. Because obviously we want to get it right. You're right, it was a huge kind of
Yeah.
selling point in terms of the referendum. And I would argue, not only is it used by hundreds of kids during the school year, it's
Summer, yeah.
365 days a year, right? So I know Pam has been great about getting feedback from staff. The accessibility component was actually the latest topic that we just talked about, and trying to get some more information from the vendor that we're using, and trying to be as diligent as possible within the parameters that we have, because it's not limitless, unfortunately,
Right.
but wanting to make sure we don't end up with less options for kids than what we
Right.
have now.
And that number is really concerning to me. It seems incredibly low.
Which number are you looking at here?
250.
Two
Page
fifty.
2? Oh,
And for what it's worth, and again, playground equipment, it can fluctuate so much. Sometimes I've seen quotes, they'll have what they call port-in-place playground systems built into the system, which that could easily triple that amount, but
Does
that
that,
being
does
said.
that include the removal of our current play structure and the disposal, or sending it to, I know sometimes people send it overseas, like, does that have that figured in with it?
It does, and it, not bringing it overseas, but picking it up with a excavator and throwing it in dumpsters
Okay.
and moving it away, so. Unless you want any scrap metal.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Any other questions on the overall budget? Okay, the last thing I'm gonna talk about real quick, stadium site logistics plan. Again, the plan is to start construction on this portion of it April 15th, believe it or not. It's right around the corner. So with that being said, I know we had a meeting with the track coaches. I think everyone's on board with our current system. Come April 15th, we're gonna shut down the track, the football field. Anything from this blue line towards the bottom of the page and then inside the green and blue dotted lines, that's construction fencing. Obviously, this will be happening during school hours. It's busy in the mornings, busy in the evenings. We're writing contracts to subcontractors. There's gonna be no exceptions, no deliveries between the hours of 7:30 and 9, and then the afternoon between 2:30 and 3:30. Again, we'll fine tune those time frames exactly. We just wanna make sure to alleviate any potential safety concern on that aspect. I'm happy to say that the softball field, or baseball field, we'll keep that open throughout the summer. We're gonna utilize some temp construction fence, essentially make an outfield. So that'll stay irrigated, open to the public, whoever needs to utilize that through the summer. First home game, August 23rd, we'll be ready, looking brand new, ready for a good football season. It's high level. Any questions on the plan for the stadium? If not, I think that's all I have today. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Jordan.
You bet. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our Spartan Spotlight. We have lots of cheer friends that are here with us. You guys can come on in. Sorry with the space.
So this is our
Come on
first
in.
of 2 Spartan Spotlights
Yes,
tonight,
we'll start with
which
cheer
is
and then we'll go to our.
awesome.
At some point in the video, we'll
Yeah.
All right. Are we good? Parents, come on in. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Tasia, and this is Anna. And we have the honor of coaching this fantastic group of young ladies. This is my 20th season coaching, my 9th season coaching at Somerset, and this is Anna's 7th season coaching. And I wanted to just share a little bit about our season that we had. We had some incredible opportunities and ended with a state title. So we'll give you a little wrap up of what we did this year. In the fall, we got to participate at the University of Minnesota Cheer, Band, and Dance Day, where we got to perform in pregame activities alongside the Gopher Spirit Squad and the band, and then also got to perform on the field at Huntington Bank Stadium during halftime, which was awesome. During our competition season, we had 4 first place finishes, including placing first in both of our routines at the same competition, which was the first time that we've ever done that, which was a really cool and very unexpected result. I think that's one of my favorite videos to watch back, is their faces when they were announced as champions in both divisions. As you guys know, we competed at nationals for the first time this year. That was back in early February. And they had beautifully performed clean routines at nationals, which was like our dream come true, because the amount of pressure that is unbelievable. So for them to go down there and perform like seasoned professionals was really cool for us to see. In game day, we advanced to the semifinal round and missed advancing to finals by 0.7 points, which ended up placing us 22nd out of 62 teams. For our non-tumble routine at nationals, we were the cutoff team, so all of the teams that placed above us made it through to the next round, and then we were the cutoff team below, 0.6 points away from advancing. So while that may seem like it could be a little bit disappointing, we could not have asked for a better experience our first time down. On our final night, we spent it together at Magic Kingdom, rode rides, ate ice cream, and ended the night watching the fireworks over the castle, which was just a really special and cool memory with the team. For state, we qualified in both game day and non-tumble. There were 14 teams in each division, and the top 7 advanced. This is our 7th consecutive year advancing to state finals, and it's also our 7th year as a competitive program. So every year that we have been in existence, we have qualified for state. Our non-tumble routine, we started off strong and had a couple hiccups at the end, but ended up placing 4th, which we were really proud of. Our game day routine was absolutely flawless. The pride, the energy, the spirit was like all sorts of goosebumps for me and Anna. It was just super cool to see. And we'll show you a video in just a moment. A little bit about game day. There are 4 elements to this routine: band dance, an offense or defense chant where we're given a cue. While they're in the middle of the routine, the announcer comes over the mic and gives us a cue, and they have to respond and pick which is the appropriate chant to do. Then they do a crowd leading cheer and then perform our school song. It's 3 minutes of going at 150%, no downtime, no breaks, no breath room, anything. And with a small team of 10, that takes a lot of work. So I commend them for that. The judges are looking for crowd engagement, genuine spirit, the visual appeal of how effective your material is at leading the crowd. So when you watch the video, you'll notice some variations to our school song, and we made those to enhance the visual appeal and to make the judges like it more, because they're very picky. On top of that, they're looking at our stunts, that we have exact timing, they're strong and stable. Do they enhance the ability to lead the crowd? Do our motions look exactly the same? How crisp are they? How sharp are they? Timing exactly the same with all 10 girls. Footwork placement, how deep are they stepping? What angle are they stepping at? What foot are they stepping with at what time? Clean lines and perfect spacing across the mat, and how well we use the floor to cover all sides of the crowd. So as you watch the video of our state championship routine, just kind of keep all those things in mind, because it's a lot of work they put in to make it look that good. So if you guys want to come off or come sit on the floor and watch if you want to watch it again.
we're at 2:18.
We had our banquet last night, and I think I cried enough tears that I won't get emotional talking about it tonight. But I don't know how to explain it better than, like, there's so many things about game day that some people think is easier to do because you're not doing a ton of really elaborate tricks and stuff. But for them to be able to go out there and look like that, it is hours and hours of dedication and work. And I don't know how many times we did that routine full out at practice. But it looked like nothing I've ever seen before in my 20 years of coaching, and it was just incredible to see it like in real life right in front of us. So this is actually the first time we won game day at the varsity level. This is our third state championship in 4 years. And my seniors, they're down here, raise your hand. My seniors, this is their fourth state championship in 5 years. And it's kind of a full circle moment because as 8th graders, they won middle school state for game day. So it was kind of just a fun little moment for them. So I just want to introduce our team members, so if you guys want to stand up. We have sophomores, Grace Garrow, Cora Knudsen, JoJo Feldkamp, Lily Miller, and Avery Richard. And then our junior is Abby Thompson. And our seniors, Molly Duncan, Brielle Harris, Alyssa Plattenberg, and Gabby Richard. And just a little note also, their time goes beyond competing. They also cheer for football and basketball. So not only are they preparing for their own competitions, but they're also preparing for when they have to perform on the sidelines at games. And I think sometimes that goes a little bit under the radar because nobody sees us, what we do when we compete, so they just think we come to the games and we cheer. But they're doing a whole other thing, and simultaneously. And we came back from state, and then it was basketball playoff time, which was so fun. And we always love doing that, but our season has, technically ended, but then we got to keep going and doing our job as cheerleaders. So I think that's important to note. And they also play an instrumental role. We had 50 youth cheerleaders this year, and each and every one of them coach one of those teams with us. And the little girls love it. They would much rather have them there than us. So we're very thankful for that time, but they end their practice. And then they're going right into youth practice. And it's just really an honor to be able to coach with them and alongside of them and help them, develop their leadership skills and see them blossom into great young coaches for these girls. So seniors are going to be missed. They've been in the program for a long time, but they left it in good hands, and we have a strong group of underclassmen, and we're really excited to see where the program can go. So thanks for
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, parents.
And then on to our next Spartan Spotlight, Business and Technical Writing with Mr. Rossmiller.
Oh, there it is.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
As promised.
All right, perfect. Hi, my name is Will Rossmiller, 6th year teaching at Somerset High School. And I'm here to talk about the Student Business Proposal Project, which is the culminating project for a semester-long class called Business and Technical Writing. Now, it's kind of funny, there are two students in the room right now that are currently taking the class, Victoria and Nick over here. So give them a little bit of a preview in terms of what's coming down the pipeline for them at the end of the semester, and maybe you guys can have some ideas that spark from some of these projects. So this is also the 6th year I've taught this class. It started out with only 7 students taking it, and we all did one big proposal, and now we offer it both semesters, and we have about 50 kids take it throughout the year. And again, the final project is a business proposal project, and I'll walk through kind of the initial steps of that first here. So, what is the project? It starts with, about 3 or 4 weeks left in the semester, students can either work individually or work in groups and determine what kind of business they would like to have in Somerset. What kind of need would there be, and also like what kind of passion areas do they have that they could pursue in terms of a business. After that initial step of determining groups and determining what business they want to have, they do a lot of research, and that's really what most of our time is spent doing. And they do research on a variety of things. I got the list up there. They look at competitors of that same business in the area, not just in Somerset, but beyond. They look at what locations could they be at. What's the difference between property zoned for commercial versus property that's currently zoned for residential. Pricing strategies, like how much can we charge while still being competitive but also making a profit. How do we market, especially with social media nowadays? Who is their target demographic, so who's going to be coming in? How would the community support this? What do we think the community would like or dislike about this, and more. The final culmination is that final product of a 5 to 10 minute business proposal, with the best part, Somerset Chamber of Commerce members coming into the building, coming into the school, and getting to watch them present. People that most of the kids have never really seen face to face, which is obviously a very nerve-wracking experience for the students, but a really valuable experience, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. After they present, students get feedback, real-world feedback, from those Chamber of Commerce members on the feasibility of the business and also really the professionalism of the presentation. By no means do we expect the kids to have all the numbers down for this business, but really it's an opportunity for them to have their writing go in front of a real audience and present in front of people and be professional in that way, which is not something they get a lot of opportunities to do. All right. The next slide is like what gets me all charged up about the class, and that's why I'm really excited that I get to present on it, and I want to thank Shannon for giving me the opportunity, because this class is just like really cool, and I get really excited about it because the kids get really excited about it. So the main, I guess, why behind this project is student engagement. We talk about this proposal at the beginning of each semester, and there's always a little level of anticipation and maybe a little bit of fear, but also excitement in the students. And really they get engaged from the get-go because they get a lot of choice in how they do this. They get to choose what that business is, and oftentimes it comes from an area where like they're very knowledgeable about it, more so than I would be knowledgeable about it. So each project, each proposal, I'm learning something too about the different businesses that the students want. It's also an opportunity for critical thinking and creativity. I'll show you some of the initial slides of some projects from years past, and I think even just those initial slides, show the creativity in terms of creating branding and just like an image for their business that I think a lot of other, especially English classes, don't really give them an opportunity to do. Also, just with all the different research, the critical thinking that goes into not only gathering the information, but also presenting the information is really impressive. And then the bottom two, a real world experience for students. Especially in English class, I feel like we don't oftentimes give kids an opportunity to publish their work for a wider audience. And with the business proposal, you get that community involvement coming in, giving real feedback to kids. And it's just so authentic. A really cool experience that happened last semester. There was a student that came in, did a fantastic job with their proposal, and immediately afterwards got a job opportunity, got a job offer almost on the spot. And that wasn't necessarily because of the presentation itself. It was because of that student being so personable and being engaged with their audience in front of them, that it was just a really cool real-world experience to get to see for that student. And a lot of that stuff happens kind of throughout the years. Every time that we do this, kids rise to the occasion. They are super nervous the day of presenting, and getting them in the room is usually the most difficult part. I've had star athletes that have played in really clutch games, like almost break down in tears from the nerves that come before this presentation. But that feeling afterwards of doing it and being successful is incredibly rewarding. I have to think for the students, but also for me as their teacher. The last one up there, the community engagement, just getting that real audience in that has the expertise, an expertise that I don't have at all, is really cool. And just seeing the conversations and the questions and really the praise and the lifting up of the community members, the chamber members for the kids is really, really cool too. So they get to see kind of the really big things that we're doing in the English department and really with this class specifically. So the next slide has just a couple of examples of different projects that students have done that I thought were kind of cool and unique. We had a sign engraving and manufacturing company this last time around that was really interesting. A thrift store, that's happened a couple times. Outdoor clothing and gear, a fitness center, a bow and rifle range, a power sports and ATV dealership, a combination tea house and bookstore, which I thought was cool. I always tell students they can't pick a coffee shop because if I allowed the coffee shop option, I think every single one of them would want that. So I like that this group picked something a little bit different, but also kind of in that area. Bowling alley, and obviously a variety of restaurants, from an Italian restaurant to last year there was a group that wanted to do kind of a burger joint that also was a laundromat. So you could bring your clothing in, get it washed, and then also get some nice food and watch some sports. That one made me laugh. I was like, you guys really have to sell this because I don't know if this is happening anywhere else. But it just goes to show all the different kind of creative opportunities that students get. So the last couple of slides I'm going to go through kind of quickly. So these are just some examples of the opening slides that students have. And I think these slides really capture kind of the branding and the intentionality that goes in with students and this work. With it being not just presented to me, but to adults they don't know, I think that's part of the nerves, but also, again, makes them think really critically about how am I going to present this information and make it engaging. So this was a clothing store that some students thought up of last year. There's the Books and Boba with their kind of color design. Northern Woodscapes, which was the company that wanted to make kind of different signage with wood, stuff like that. They came up with their own logo, which I thought was cool. This one is one of my favorites. This is one of the thrift store options, which I love the font choice that they included with the image. Sunnyside Petting Farm, so a petting zoo as well. And a bigger group decided to make a full-on resort, and their branding was really, really well done as well. So just one of the many options of just really cool ideas that students have come up with. So I just want to thank all of you for your time. I really appreciate it, and I'm curious if you have just any questions about the project as a whole. And if you don't, that's okay too. Yeah?
Do you have bakers come to see if they could get
So
funding?
we almost always have someone from a financial institution there to talk about just the feasibility of it. And the big thing that I think we've gotten a lot better with throughout the years, from my first year teaching this class to now, is I guess digging deeper to find the financial stuff, because that's really the hardest stuff to find unless you're actually creating a business. But yeah, we always have a financial institution, or at least someone kind of on that panel of chamber members that come in and kind of talk about the feasibility of would we give you a potential loan on this or not? So yeah, it's also a cool perspective, not just the business side, but also the financial side as well. So awesome. Well, thank you all. Appreciate the time.
Okay, next up is our higher education scholar winner. So welcome to Somerset High School senior Nicholas Strand.
Hello, I'm Eric Olson, and this is Nicholas Strand. And on my way up, I was thinking about 4 years teaching Nick, and Nick's one of those students that just make teaching easy. You know, he's one of the kids that will always do what you want him to do, but then when he comes in, he always has ideas or other ways to look at, hey, I want to bring this tractor in, can we work on this, can I do this? And he's one of the kids that I'm usually kicking out of my shop more than having him come in. And when it comes down to voting and who gets awarded this winner, it was very competitive. We have a lot of deserving students. And Nicholas was one of the students that had the most amount of CTE classes. And also he, as far as just aptitude, was, for me, was an easy pick. But Nicholas, you got anything you want to add?
I just want to say thank you for letting me take all the tech ed classes in Somerset, and then also give me the opportunity to apply for the Welding Academy. And I really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to keep on going with my schooling. And now I got the experience of high school and then college on top of that, or tech school. So thank you, and thank everybody else.
All right, well, thank you.
Nick, what are you doing next year?
I'm going to CBTC in Eau Claire for Power Sports Mechanic. I got accepted into that this last fall, so
Wonderful.
that's what I'm going to pursue right now. So,
Excellent.
yep.
Excellent.
And I'm working on finishing the Welding Academy in Northwoods right now. So,
And you brought someone with you.
yep, it's my dad.
Perfect. Thanks, Dad. And I just wanted to add, just for those that don't know kind of about this scholarship, so this is a state-sponsored scholarship that the board recognizes every year about this time. And our CTE team gets together and they have a fairly robust rubric that they look at for students that they feel are eligible, students that they know are moving on to some sort of career and technical education. As Eric mentioned, there's points associated with how many classes you take and what classes you take. And I just want to say too, what a wonderful choice. You've been an amazing student at SHS and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All the great things for spotlighting. Okay. So we'll continue on with some more awesome things from our students, but looking at the student representatives for Victoria and Tori.
Okay, our March recap. So starting with our elementary school, the elementary school had a cereal drive for the food pantry and it went really well and they collected over 200 cereal boxes. And then third grade had their musical performance on March 7th and they learned sign language, which was performed under black light, which was right here. And a lot of high school students, I think, went down to help them learn their songs. And then the high school had a lot of, the school had a lot of fun with pieing their teacher in the face, and with that they also had a school-wide dance party.
Okay, in the middle school they had their truly charitable week, which they raised money and got very many donations. They also collected food from the food pantry, which was a competition between each grade as well. And they hosted their annual blanket project, which gets donated to the local Grace Place?
Westfields and
Westfield. Okay. And they also did their chili feed, which when it was 60 degrees outside. And they also hosted their annual middle school dance this past month. And the January, February student of the months were also celebrated in March.
Okay, so the high school, we don't have any pictures, but the juniors survived taking their ACT last week. Four winning advisories won a pizza party for bringing in the most pennies during our penny wars last month. It was delicious. Midterm checks were today, so a lot of them are to see if they're eligible to continue playing their sports that just started this past week. AP Art went on a field trip to the Minnesota Art Museum. CS Writing went to the U of M for a writing studio, and all students are just ready to go on spring break. You know.
And then all our winter sports recap. All sports teams have now come to an end, and all of them having very successful seasons. Spring sports started. All of them are started officially today, And choir had a large group festival tomorrow in St. Croix Falls. We'll be judging the performance. Is that your solo ensemble?
No. So Large Group Festival is an opportunity where we can get invited to, and which is in St. Croix Falls, and we perform 3 songs, and they're all contrasted, and there's judges, and they'll rate our performances, give us tips, so then we're ready for our last concert in May.
And then last Saturday, show choir spent all day practicing for their choreography performance in May. And then this last Saturday, our softball team held our annual bingo fundraiser at the Rendezvous, and we had a great turnout this year. We're not sure how much we've raised yet, but it's looking up, so it looked like did good. And then baseball is still currently selling their coupon books for their fundraiser, and I'm pretty sure that ends on Thursday. So if you see any baseball players that want a coupon book, they would love to sell them you.
And that's our watch.
Thank you. Looking at our listening session summary, Bruce and Lori, was there anybody at our listening session?
Just some staff here to support other staff members presenting tonight.
Oh, great. Awesome. Then looking for our superintendent updates.
Perfect.
You're up.
Okay, so I have a couple things tonight. And I know they mentioned the ACT, but just a brief reminder that we are starting state assessment season. So our juniors completed their ACT last week, and we've got forward testing happening soon. We've got all kinds of things that will be sent home to parents and information, and just want to continue to encourage people to make sure they read those messages, have a good understanding of when your child will be engaged in those assessments, thinking about good rest and really encouraging your students to try their very best. But state assessment season in any district is typically a long season. Our middle school, for example, tests every single grade. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with logistics and trying to make it all work, and also still trying to do the day-to-day things that we're trying to do in our buildings. So it has started. Okay, so wanted to give a little bit of information about enrollment, and some of it is specific to Somerset, but the reason I wanted to bring this up was because through our different state associations and those kinds of things, enrollment in general right now is a really hot topic. So I want to provide you some information about just general statistics that have just come out about the state of Wisconsin, K-12 public education, and then I do have some information very specific to Somerset, because I know this has been a topic that's come up in our community as well through Facebook. I know the school board candidate forum, this came up. Good questions, and probably a topic that's not going away anytime soon, which I'll talk about here momentarily. So the first part of the information I have is directly from the University of Madison. So this isn't something I just kind of made up. This is information that, again, was just sent to all superintendents in the state. As everybody's having the same conversations of looking at enrollment and enrollment trends and what does that potentially mean for your district. So overall population growth in Wisconsin, growing but starting to slow a bit. You'll see a lot of concentration happening in our population centers. So Madison, Milwaukee, Green Bay, those areas are exploding while other areas in the state are shrinking a bit. Aging and fewer school-age children. So this is something I'm going to focus on quite a bit, and I highlighted this sentence: 2/3 of Wisconsin school districts have declining enrollment. I'm going to talk a little bit about the explanation they have for that, but this kind of leads into the topic of enrollment is not just unique to Somerset. These are conversations that are happening in districts all over the state. Looking at your trends, looking at your projections, and what does that mean for you in terms of revenue and all of those kinds of things. So K-12 student population, as I mentioned, starting to steadily decrease. Again, concentrating in population centers, which means some of those big areas. Schools up north, for example, are seeing nothing but massive declines, which is meaning lots of other issues for some of those school districts. Our K-12 student population is more racially diverse than ever before, and we are seeing more and more kids attending a wider variety of publicly funded school types. So I'll talk about that too, because we frankly know that especially since COVID, there's just a lot more options for kids in terms of just your typical brick and mortar school, and how is that impacting enrollment. So looking at overall youth population, and again, I'm going to keep this fairly high level. I don't have a ton of slides, I didn't want to bore you, but Looking at just again, overall population from ages 0 to 17, you can start to see we've had a bit of a decline. You can see from 1990 all the way to 2020. And basically the summary is, frankly, there are less children now than there have been 15, 20 years ago. You can see here, looking at, again, age 0 to 17, in the 1990s, we had a nice increase. It hit the 2000s, a 2% decrease, and now sitting at about a 4% decrease, again, of children from age 0 to 17. And you can kind of see that correlation then between what does that mean for public school enrollment when you have, frankly, fewer kids. Trends in birth rate. So this is something I've talked about before. This isn't probably new information if you've been following some of these things, that frankly, people are having fewer children. The days of having 8, 9, 10, maybe 15 children in your family just don't seem to exist necessarily anymore. And you can see that trend line is doing nothing but going down. Again, fewer children, and that eventually has, and currently has, I would say, an impact on public school enrollment. So effects of the pandemic on enrollment. So you can see in 1920 all the way to 22-23, looking at, I would say, kind of the three main options that students and families have, either attending a public school, a private school, or students that are homeschooled. And you can see this change, and I want to bring your attention to the homeschool population. Obviously, that is a massive increase since 1920, and something that I'll mention in just a few slides here regarding Somerset as well. In 2019, so you had about 12% of students in private schools and 2% homeschool. And you can see how that's increased from 2022 in terms of families choosing private school and homeschool versus public school. So prediction from 23 to 2032, in 5 years, 4 K-12 enrollment, so there's 421 districts in the state of Wisconsin, may see a decline by as much as 7%. And again, they also broke it down because there's a lot of conversation as well about what grade levels and what grade bands you start to see some of that decline. So again, this is just a prediction for the next 10 years essentially, but also seeing a decline in grades K-5, 6, 8, and the biggest decline in students in grades 9 and 12, specifically attending public school, if that makes sense. So quick summary of basically what was about a 200 slide presentation from UW. So declining births means we have fewer kids. Increase in alternatives in terms of family choice, being able to decide where they can go. Regardless of the number of students that you have, some of your inflationary expenses don't change. So whether you have 200 kids or 400 kids, you're still going to have to pay the same electric bill, for example. Fewer students obviously translates into less revenue for your district. So wanted to then kind of bring it to Somerset specifically, because I know there's been a lot of conversation about enrollment, specifically open enrollment in our district. And I guess kind of the first place I want to start is, this is a topic that we have at this point, I would say, weekly conversations about, whether it's administratively, whether it's with district office staff, really doing a high level of analysis of what has our trend been, where are we currently, and what are some of our projections in terms of enrollment. And open enrollment in and out is a massive factor of that. So this topic hasn't been ignored. It didn't just kind of come up in the last couple months. This has been something, and I guess I can speak for the last 1.5 years+, that we've spent a lot of time diving into, trying to get a better understanding of where are these kids, why do kids choose to come in, why do kids leave, and then frankly, what do we do about it? So again, kind of high level information. So current year, so right now, the number of students that we have open enrolled into our district that are residents someplace else is 129. And the number of students open enrolled out, so students that are residents of Somerset that leave here to go someplace else, is 165, which means a net loss of 36 students. And that's been, I would say, fairly stable for the last 2 or 3 years. So then we have conversations about, okay, when we get students, where are we getting students from? So I did a little bit of a breakdown here. So currently, again, this year, we have 87 students from New Richmond that live in New Richmond that come into Somerset, 32 students that live in Osceola that open enroll here, 10 students from Hudson, and I did a little bit of a combination because the cell size is getting so small. I really want to avoid unintentionally identifying a family. So between Amory and St. Croix Falls, we have 6 students, which adds up to 129 coming in. And then looking at students that are residents here but going out. So we have 71 students that are residents here that go to New Richmond, kind of get the idea, 43 that live here that go to Hudson. I combined all of the virtual options, so these are a variety of virtual schools that we have families attend. Appleton, Cameron, McFarland, Medford, and St. Croix Central, which is a total of 36. Osceola, 9, and then a combination of St. Croix Falls, Spring Valley, River Falls, and Baldwin adds up to 6, which is 165. Then when we start to dive down a little bit deeper, right, especially looking at the kids that are leaving, what is the why? So starting with the 165 kids that we know live here but don't go here, 118 of them have never ever attended Somerset. They've never set foot here. So those are kids that more than likely live on a border, following maybe where their parents and siblings have went. Variety of reasons, but these aren't kids that have started here and left. These are kids that literally have never set foot here. Again, I'm not going to pretend to know the story of all 118, but knowing what we do know, and again, doing some analysis, you know, that's a big chunk of those 165. Then we go down to 31. Again, this is not a perfect science, and I'm not claiming to have spoken to every single family. But knowing what we do know, because it's pretty rare that we have a family that starts here and leaves and we have no idea why they're leaving. Most families will tell us, because it's not always necessarily because they're dissatisfied with the district. There's lots of other factors that go into why a family might start here or go here and choose to go someplace else. One of the biggest things we're hearing right now with our littles is daycare. And it's much more convenient because I have to take my 2-year-old to daycare in Hudson, so then I take my 4-year-old JK student to Hudson as well, as an example. So daycare has become something that probably was at the end of my list a year ago, and now I frankly moved it to the beginning on purpose. You may have students struggling with mental health, physical health. So we have some students that are homebound, for example, because they can't physically attend here. Parent job location, again, convenience. Virtual programming, and you've heard me talk about that before, that we're at a spot right now where we're doing a lot of analysis of our current program and why are people leaving. We have a program available, why are people leaving to choose a different virtual program, right? But right now they are. It might be a faith-based option, and again, just different family circumstances where you may have a family that has to all of a sudden move in with an aunt and uncle or something like that, right? So again, I'm claiming very publicly, I have not necessarily spoken individually to every one of these 31, but we've spent about a month administratively analyzing every single student and looking at every family scenario the best that we can, that we're aware of, because it's pretty rare, again, that someone just gets up and leaves and someone in this room has no idea what happened, right? And then the last one, we kind of narrowed it down to 16 that I would classify as what I would say true dissatisfaction with the district. So something happened that they weren't happy about. Many of these things are very family unique, so I didn't want to make the list too exhaustive, again, to unintentionally identify any families. But we've had in the past some frustrations with COVID, especially back to masking and those kinds of things, and those are maybe some families we just haven't recouped. Athletics and activities, something has happened within there where they have chosen to go to another district and play another sport. So, again, I'm not saying this is a perfect science, but you know, these are the kinds of things that we're doing on a weekly basis. Every time we have an enrollment form, because I'm copied on every one that comes in, I add it to my chart because I have this pretty comprehensive spreadsheet. When we look at kids are coming in, why are they coming in? If we have someone leaving, what happened? I'm hoping that that's helpful because this is a big number, right, of that 165. And I just want to maybe kind of help change the narrative a little bit that of those 165, if not 165 families that are upset with the school district, if that makes sense. So a little bit more information. So obviously we've got a thriving private school in town. So we have 75 of our resident students, JK through grade 8, that attend St. Anne's. And we really don't have a great way to quantify students that have never attended Somerset and are maybe attending a private school outside of Somerset. We don't have a good way to track that. This is fairly easy to track because we share transportation and busing and those kinds of things. There's probably a subgroup of kids that are residents in Somerset that we just maybe aren't able to track where exactly they are. And as I mentioned, homeschooling. So we have 39 families right now that are accessing homeschooling, so resident families. Some of those families have students that do attend our schools part-time because legally they can come into our district and take 2 classes. So we encourage families and try to provide as much information about that as possible because we feel like that's a nice bridge there. That percentage has went up significantly in the last 3 years. At one point it hovered around 10. Now you can see it's almost 40. And this isn't 40 students, this is families, so that number is actually higher in terms of actual students that are accessing homeschooling in some way, shape, or form. So kind of what next, right? So as I mentioned, we are constantly monitoring, analyzing, projecting enrollment, and this is something that's been a high priority because this is directly tied to revenue. And at the end of the day, we want our resident students attending Somerset. In April, you will see lots of evidence of what we're kind of coining an enrollment campaign. So information is going to be mailed out. We're going to be putting lots of information out about essentially why Somerset. Kind of some new things. Maybe people haven't heard about our district. I mean, I should link this board meeting in terms of the things that are happening here because it's good stuff. But just to kind of get that conversation moving in to see if we can maybe grab some families that maybe were here and left, or maybe some families that are homeschooling or those kinds of things. You've heard me talk about our virtual programs, so Trish and Brandon and I are doing a lot of background information and a lot of, Trish and Brandon in particular, I walked in on a meeting with them the other day where there's lots of virtual meetings, Google Meets, a lot of research happening with other virtual schools. Although as you can imagine, people aren't super interested in sharing all their secrets with us, but basically just how do we enhance our current program, because we have 36 kids leaving for another virtual program. That's a lot of kids. What are we missing? And we have a plan to connect with those 36 families as well to kind of find out what about these other programs drew you in, and to see what the feasibility is for looking at our program. What we've found in a very short time is most of the enhancements involve dollars, so more to come. You heard Dave at the last meeting kind of talk about, we're doing a lot of research right now about the option of bringing a child care center on campus. More to come on that probably in the next couple months, but we feel like that is a very viable option that not only could retain and attract families, but also be used as a tool for retaining and attracting staff, meeting a need that we know exists in our community right now, so more to come on that. And then just, we have a lot of conversations internally of just being mindful of our messaging and the narrative when talking about our schools. Every conversation is an opportunity. Every post on social media is an opportunity. So we're going to keep doing what's within our control of putting out the messaging of this is a great place to be and we're doing great things and never perfect, always looking to improve, but we feel good about what we're doing. So more to come, but I just felt like it was timely just to give you some information about kind of where we are right now with enrollment. Sorry, I put this back. Especially because it's such a hot topic around the state right now. And with that said, okay, one more thing. Okay, so wanted to also share, so you can maybe put it up, Alicia, but don't start it just quite yet. So this video was sent out last week by WASB. Maybe you guys saw it. Did you guys all get it? Maybe, if you get the email? Okay. It's only 3 minutes and 40 seconds long, super short, but it is a great tool that I know lots of districts are using to help their public and community understand how funding in Wisconsin for public schools is working or lack thereof currently. Many districts I know are using this right now to help with the messaging in their community around operational referendums. That is not our current status, and nor am I putting out any information that we're doing any sort of operational referendum, but it gives you just a really good 50,000-foot view of current status of funding and why it is problematic, and it's only going to get worse most likely for many districts. So I wanted to take 3 minutes and 40 seconds and just give it a quick view. There we go.
Our public schools are the cornerstone of our community. The education and opportunities we provide for students today shape their futures and ours. Schools, like any organization, need money to operate, but in Wisconsin, funding the needs of our schools has been a growing challenge. State policy limits how much school districts can spend. The vast majority of school funding comes from a combination of state dollars and local property taxes. It's called the revenue limit, and it acts as a cap per student that school districts can spend each year. Even if school costs go above this level, schools can't spend any more than this limit. From 1994 to 2009, these revenue caps were adjusted for inflation, which meant they helped schools keep up with ongoing needs. But since 2010, the resources districts need to survive have fallen farther and farther behind the basic costs to operate our schools. By the end of 2025, the revenue limit will have fallen more than $3,300 per student behind inflation. With a district of 1,000 students, that's a decrease of more than $3 million. What's more, each district has a different revenue cap, and these caps are not tied to the needs of the students or the cost to the schools that serve them. Our job as a school district is to make sure all of our students have access to the exceptional educational opportunities we provide, no matter what their needs when they walk through our doors. But state funding falls short of what it costs to meet the specific needs of many of our students. When that happens, we have to use money from our general fund to cover the difference, which means taking dollars from other important needs. The largest portion of our budget goes towards staffing. Our people are the heart of our schools. Without enough educators who instruct, support, and inspire learning, schools can't provide the lessons, programs, and opportunities our students deserve. Other important budget items include curriculum, technology, transportation, operations, and maintenance. School districts work hard to balance their budgets, yet resources for schools have been shrinking year after year since 2010. With costs growing so much faster than funding, districts are always looking for ways to trim costs and work smarter, like deferring needed school maintenance, cutting programs, reducing staff, and many other strategies. But schools can only cut so much before they start to harm educational opportunities for their students. To maintain class sizes, keep up with rising costs, take care of school buildings, and protect high-quality instruction, many districts have turned to their community to help fill the state-imposed funding gap. Since the arrival of revenue limits, over 80% of school districts have done so by asking local voters to raise their caps through an operating referendum. Most have used the option multiple times. Our children don't have time to wait for state policymakers to fix the school funding system. By putting the needs of our students first, we are investing in their potential and the future of our whole community. Strong schools make strong communities where families want to move and stay. Learn more about school finance in Wisconsin by visiting our website.
So that was it. We were just encouraged by WASB to share that. Always good reminder, and I felt like that was at least an easy way to understand how things work and some of the struggles, obviously, that schools face, and we have been, part of that as well. So that's what I have. Better turn the lights on.
Moving forward, is there any discussion or questions regarding the financial reports or the enrollment report? Okay, then going on to our next part of the agenda, consenting to the personnel updates, donation, post-prom, CISA, board bills, budget, and minutes. Is there a motion to approve these items, or if you'd like to do so separately?
Make a motion to approve A1, B1, C1, D1, E1, F1, G1, and G2.
Is there a second?
I'll second, but I'd like to make an amendment to one of the minutes.
Okay.
And I already talked with Alicia about this and sent her an email just to mention the name of the person from the League of Women Voters, Carolyn Saunders, who was looking at all the school district websites in 3 counties and said Somerset's was the best.
Awesome. So adding her name onto that with the amendment. Any seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Then looking at our general information, the spring election is coming up on Tuesday, April 2nd, and then our next work session will be April 8th with our next regular session, April 22nd. The listening session will be 30 minutes prior. Moving forward with our district celebrations, I'll go around. Corey, do you want to start us out? Do you have anything tonight?
Sure. Our student board representative said that the winter sports were done. We actually had 2 middle schoolers going to state wrestling this weekend, so good luck to them. And then I wanted to thank the chamber for hosting the candidate forum for school board and village trustee. Great event to kind of say what we're about, meet some people. Excuse me. It was a good time.
Lori?
I don't know if I, the summer school catalog is out, which is always important news for our community. I attended the chili dinner at the middle school, and it was fun to see families attending that. And the amount of awards earned by our student athletes that Mr. Wink included in the weekly update is incredible. The number of academic athletes, the all-state, the conference selections, all conference, that was great.
Great, I will echo all of that. It was really nice to hear all the positive pieces during tonight's board meeting and have such wonderful representatives coming. And congratulations to Trent as our new high school principal. Bruce?
Everybody said it all.
Marge?
Same thing, only I didn't go to the chili dinner. Which I could have.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn into closed session of the board pursuant of Wisconsin statute section 1985-1C to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the board has jurisdiction?
So move.
Is there a second?
One second.
And we'll do a roll call vote. Corey?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ian? I heard yes. Ian?
Yes?
Okay, good. Matt?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Bruce?
Yes.
Marge?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. We'll now move into closed session.